Welcome, everyone, to the Magus Athletic Training Podcast, where we talk to guests from the entire spectrum of athletic training, sports performance, entrepreneurship in athletics, and the sports performance space. Before we introduce our next guest, please do us a favor and click on that subscribe button, smash that like button, and hit that share. That is just a small way that you can help support and grow this channel and see more phenomenal guests like we have today. Today's guest is the moderator and host of not one, but two podcasts, Beyond Sets and Reps, as well as Research the Reps podcast. He is the founder of the Pat Ivy Performance Programming. He is the co author of the Complete Conditioning for Football, which is used by the NSCA. He is also the author of his own book called The Table, which talks about coaching, mental toughness, and self awareness. He is the Associate Athletic Director for Health and Performance at the University of Louisville. He has played in the NFL for such teams as, get this, guys, the Packers, the Broncos, Chargers, and you might have seen him on Thanksgiving, the Lions. He Please help me in joining and welcoming the newest member of the CSCTA Board of Directors, Dr. Coach Pat Ivy. Welcome, Coach.
Hey, how's it going? How's everything going there?
It is going very, very well. Great to see you.
I have to say, people may not know how hard it is what you just did, but if you have ever done an intro on a podcast, it is one of the hardest things to do. You're trying to enunciate, you're trying to get the information correct, you're trying to read, project your voice at the same time, and come off smooth with an intro. Good job, my friend.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I will let you know when it comes to introductions, there is one person that has set the bar for me. That is, I am striving to create introductions as good as this gentleman, and that is Mr. Tim Bayou, the founder of Quest Nutrition. When he is on Impact Theory and he introduces his guests, you would think that it is the second coming of Jesus. So
That's a skill and requires some talent too. So yeah, nice. Appreciate that.
thank you. So for those that are joining the podcast that may not know who you are, which if they're in the sports performance realm, they may be under the rock if they don't know who you are. Can you give us a brief introduction of who is Dr. Pat Ivy? Matter of fact, we're not gonna add the doctor. Who is Pat Ivy?
Yeah. Have to start with the son of Al and Alma Ivy, uh, who came to Detroit from the South looking for opportunity. My dad worked at Chrysler, worked on the assembly line, ended up retiring from Chrysler as a truck driver, and lots of trials and tribulations in between that time. Growing up in the city, inner city, my younger sister and I, it was not the easiest situation to grow up in, but we had a great household and grew up in a neighborhood that was supportive. At the same time, having to navigate, I would say, economic challenges. And that is part of who I am, part of my upbringing, growing up in those types of situations, learning how to, save, work hard, keep the values of honesty, integrity, family, loyalty. Those are things that I hold dear. And those are things I try to carry with me as I interact with other people. There are some cardinal rules that were in the house. You treat other people the way you want to be treated. You don't share all of your business. Things that stay in the house just happen in the house, just stay in the house.
Staples.
There's a lot of things that I carry with me. My mom and dad, and especially my mom, were huge on education. They preached that, they drilled that into my sister and I, into our heads every day. It was every morning we woke up to Teddy Pendergrass's song, Wake up everybody, no more sleeping in
In
bed.
bed.
No more backwards thinking, time for
And then
thinking
thinking
ahead.
ahead. Okay, I can't
Every,
sing.
every day we listened to that song when we woke up. And, it was, as parents, we're constantly trying to program our children, what they need to be successful. So those types of things I grew up with. I went to Cass Technical High School, which was downtown Detroit, is a magnet school, and you have to take a test to get in there. And because of the background and the emphasis on education, I was fortunate enough to be accepted into that school where you actually have a curriculum in high school. And my curriculum was electronic engineering. So that was what I wanted to do in college, was to be an engineer, mechanical engineering, and play football. And I quickly learned that what it takes to do that, I did not have all of the tools in my toolbox or the resources to get all of that done. So I ended up trying to get into the business school, thought I would want to own my own business, and eventually found myself in hotel and restaurant management, taking a lot of nutrition and cooking classes, which I really enjoyed. So I'm a pretty good cook. I still have dreams of, owning a restaurant. I wanted to play pro ball. I was fortunate enough to do that. And all of this led me into coaching. It led me into coaching because my purpose in life is to, I'm an analytical leader who likes to help others to win, in a unique way, to a victory. So whether it's in the weight room, whether it's on the field, classroom, any interaction that I have with people, what gets me energized is helping them to win so we can win. Because I'm a competitor. Winning's important to me. And that just became part of my path. So being a pro athlete, being a coach, and now in administration, I think I take all of those values with me into what I'm doing every day. I've been on the phone several times today with people that I supervise, and I am constantly trying to help them to do their job. Rarely am I calling someone to help me to do my job, because my job is to help them to do their job. I find it very, it's challenging, but it's very rewarding. And, I'm a family person. I've been married for 24 years. I have two daughters, one going to Ohio State next month, and a junior in high school. So I'm someone who likes to be well-rounded. I enjoy hobbies. I enjoy relaxing. I enjoy being active, staying active outside of work. So that's a little bit of who I am.
Gotcha. So you mentioned that you have a daughter that's about to go to Ohio State. Is she going to Ohio State or is she going to the Ohio State?
Oh, I've learned it's the Ohio State, and I grew up in Michigan, so you didn't say the Ohio State. You don't. Anyway, but I left that long time ago. But it is the Ohio State. Excited. She's going to be studying animal science. Very bright, hardworking young lady.
Gotcha. And you spoke of transitioning from going into your college career, then going into the NFL for some time, and then transitioning back into the academics and going into becoming a strength coach and so on and so forth. Um, as a former athlete, how did you know that you wanted to transition back into coaching to impact lives and impact athletes, as opposed to some athletes choosing to go more into a corporate setting?
I don't think I knew. That is something my strength coaches saw in me, and that is an opportunity they extended to me. So it's something that I followed up on. I knew that I wanted to go back to school, back to grad school, and being a coach in the weight room seemed like a natural fit. It's a place that I would go to and spend all of my free time. And why not do what I love doing where I love to do it? And so that's what led me into coaching. It was just a natural progression, and being around sports has been something that's been very important for me personally.
Gotcha. And you spoke of your mother and the influence that she had on you, as well as your family, your father, and just being raised in the community that you were raised in there in Michigan. With that being said, what are some of your influences and influencers throughout your athletic career once you transitioned into sports performance, coaching, and things of that nature? So um, I know that, for example, in the NFL, we have the coaching tree. So we got the Bill Belichick coaching tree. And it seems to me that in strength and conditioning, when it comes to college strength and conditioning, you got the Joey Batson uh, tree. So who are some of the people that influence how you approach your coaching career?
Yeah, I think going back to Little League, Coach Brock was my Little League coach. He was, man, tough on us, but he loved us. He's someone that didn't take it easy on us, but gave us everything that we needed, all the confidence that we needed. Going into my high school coach, Coach Sherelle Rowland, who probably epitomizes what it is for a coach to develop leaders. Everything he did was leadership driven and giving us the opportunity to run the program. He was not a person that it was his way or the highway. If he wanted it to be our program and lead it the direction we wanted it to go. Going into college, it was my strength and conditioning coaches. Dave Tobe, Donnie Summer, Bob Jones, those guys were instrumental in my development. So I would say I come from that tree of those strength and conditioning coaches. And I try to pay tribute to them from the things that I learned. I learned how to be a good father, husband, man of my word, work hard, be a leader. I learned a lot of those things from those men, and I think it was important for me to continue that legacy, and like you said, develop my own coaching tree.
Gotcha. So you speak of leadership quite often. What does that word leadership mean to you? So when you say leadership, what does leadership mean to Dr. Pat Ivy, and how do you live that out on a daily basis?
Yeah, leadership, lead the ship. It's really simple. We're going in one direction. We're all on board. Everyone has a job to do. Everyone has a role, and we have to make sure we're pulling in the same direction. And for me, it's about that vision, establishing the vision, and knowing the mission, and creating some core beliefs, some core values, communicating what those are, and working together, and then constantly giving feedback about where we are navigating the ship, and making sure that we're maintaining the ship. So it's I think a lot of times it's something that people form policies and procedures to compensate for. And for me, it's about hiring the right people, being around the right people. When I when I'm interested in another job, I am interviewing them. I'm interviewing the person that is interviewing me. I want to know, are you a good fit for me? Are you a good leader for me? That's important. I don't need a micromanager. I need someone that is supportive and someone that has a vision, and I know what that vision is, and I know how I can fit into that vision and contribute to the mission. And I want people around me that are committed to the same thing. So how do you uh, create better team chemistry with better team players? That's part of being a leader in my eyes.
Gotcha. Great. So, um, and for those of us who may not be familiar with Pat Ivy, this gentleman here has had at least 20 to 30 different titles in his career, which is very unique. So, Dr. Ivy, you have gone from being a high school athlete to a professional athlete to a college athlete, then coming in, going from a graduate assistant to a strength conditioning coach, to an athletic director to an author to uh, through a plethora of different roles. So this past weekend, you were one of the key speakers at the NSCA um, conference down in Orlando, and you asked a very poignant question that I would like to ask you. As a strength conditioning coach, what's next? So many times we have a plan of saying, hey, I want to be a strength conditioning coach. That's fine, and that's a great goal. However, what's the next step? I remember listening to Dr. Eric Thomas talk about individuals wanting to get to the next level and being in the NBA or being into football. In this particular case, he was talking about a basketball player, and how once they got to the NBA, they were content. They weren't, that hunger wasn't there for them to win a championship because they achieved their goal of making it to the league. Where it seems like when I look back over your career, you're never content with where you are. You're always looking at what's next. So this weekend, when I listened to you speaking, you said you asked that question for a strength coach, what's next? How do you continue to keep that momentum and continue to keep plotting that course to always be moving one step further on a daily basis?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I think for me, I'm always trying to be better. I want to be a better version of myself today than I was yesterday. That doesn't mean I don't like who I was yesterday. I do. I love who I was yesterday. I just want to be better today than I was yesterday, and that is in every aspect of my life. And it's not easy to do, but it's simple. It's if you take it one step at a time, one day at a time, one moment at a time. I believe that constant growth and having a growth mindset is important to me. My dad always told me never go one day without learning something. That was ingrained. And so if you constantly are learning something every day, no matter how small it is, then you have to, in my opinion, find a way to incorporate that so that you can be better. Because if you learn something, then what do you do with that, that information? How do you incorporate that information? Maybe it's something that you don't need to incorporate and you can eliminate something from whatever is on your to-do list or whatever it is you're trying to get done. I'm always looking at what's next, but that doesn't mean I'm not trying to maximize and be the best I'm at what I am doing now. I just know that there is a timeline, there is an expiration date to everything. And for me, I always want to be prepared. Like, I don't want to run out of milk in the refrigerator before I go and buy another carton of milk. Like, I want to make sure that as that runs out, the next thing is right there. And that's just the way I like to do things. I like to continue my momentum. I like to build upon things that on the foundation that I've already laid. I know that relationships and other people are vital to my continued growth and improvement. So I have to have those people around me that are encouraging, that are pushing, that I can encourage as well. Because for me, I get fulfillment in that, in helping other people to develop. I think it's important that as I look forward to see what's next, it's not that I really know what's next. It's that I just know there is a next. And it's important for me to maximize what I'm doing today so that I'm ready for whatever happens in the future. And some of these things I've done wasn't by choice, it was by opportunity. And I was in position to seize that opportunity and maximize whatever was available for me to take advantage of.
Gotcha. Thank you so very much for that answer. And many times when we're talking about athletic development within the college setting as a career, many times when you're coming through the ranks per se, and you're going through being an intern, graduate assistant, and working your way up to becoming a full-time assistant and a head strength conditioning coach. Many times, that individual may need to supplement their income through doing something outside of that realm. So it may be that they are training clients outside. It may be that they're have their own business outside of that to try to supplement their income to, be able to take care of the family. What are some of the lessons that you learned as an entrepreneur that someone can start to apply in those situations, concerning that you've gone through that process and have also successfully created Pat Ivy performance?
Yeah. I think, I think it comes down to people and relationships. I know what I can get done and I know what I can't get done. I know that in areas that are my blind spots, I need to either have the people there or create systems there that can compensate for those blind spots. And that is how I try to do things. So a lot of times there's postings, there are blog posts, there I got workouts going on. I've got people that I depend on and I've built relationships with that assist me with all of that. So it's not something I'm doing myself. I think it's important to recognize that we all can't do everything. And as I build my brand on the side, I still have a full-time job that I do on a daily basis. And if I needed to get ready for this podcast, it's in the middle of the day. Well, I've got a meeting here coming up. I was on the phone and eating lunch, having a meeting earlier. So it's about maximizing my time. It's about being as efficient as I can be and still be able to get everything done. I've dropped a few balls today. The things that I didn't have on my schedule, I usually am pretty good with that. So now I have to take inventory. Okay, how did this happen? These few balls that I dropped, where did I go wrong? Where did I not? Where did my organizational process fail me? And then I have to be honest with myself and say, okay, hey, I'm not, I don't suck because I dropped those balls. There's something, my process failed me. So what can I do with my process that'll help me to stay better organized so that I can continue to realize what I'm supposed to be doing or communicate where there might be some inconsistencies or disconnects.
Gotcha. And you spoke of how important education was in your family, and uh, the quote that you gave of your father, learn at least one thing today. That really resonates because it's actually in your book.
Yep.
It's in your book. So um, thank you very much. I try to be an avid reader and read at least 10 to 20 pages on some subject matter um, every single day, and try to apply it within 24 hours to make sure that I retain it, whether it works or doesn't work. At least I have the information. But with that being said, what are three books that you recommend someone to read, whether it be in entrepreneurship, leadership, strength conditioning, sports performance, mental toughness? Um, I'm going to give you the caveat that I asked for three books, but we're going to rank the table at number one. So, so three books in addition to the table.
That's I can tell you about the last three books that I've read. One is Greatness, and I'm trying to remember the author that wrote it. Is it David Cook? I have to go back and check the author. Greatness, and then the last two books I read by Martin Rooney. I have to give a shout out to him. He actually pushed me to read his two books. One is Coach to Coach, and one is High 10. And
I
it's
believe that he gave that to you at the Sornex.
Yeah, he did. He actually did. He gave that to me, and we've been in contact with each other. And I actually just finished his High 10 book. I think they're really good practical applications of coaching and psychology, leadership, team development. I think he did some really good things with those books. So I've read so many books, it's really hard for me to rank. So I just talk about the ones I read most
Most
recently.
recent.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And you spoke about your systems and processes and being able to take a daily assessment of those. So as we do those assessments and we assess our own selves, what would you say is your greatest strength as a coach or as a
Mm,
leader?
wow. Greatest strength. Wow. You know, I think having a diverse group of coaches and people around me that I can lean on, that I empower to check me, is probably been my greatest asset. Um, People that I supervise know that if I say something wrong, stop me right there in the moment. If I misspeak, if I say the wrong date, wrong time, mispronounce something, like interrupt me and make the correction right there on the spot. Like, let's not waste 20 minutes talking about the wrong thing just because I happen to hold a certain position that says I might be the coordinator of something or in charge of something. I think having those people around me that can help me to see those blind spots so I can do my job, do my thing. I think that's been something that's been very valuable, powerful, because self-awareness, I think, is something that's important with me. I know that I know where my strengths are. I know where, for the most part, where my weaknesses are, and like I said, I'm going to have the right people around me that can address that. You know, when I gave my background, you didn't hear anything about exercise science or physiology, but yet I still was National Strength and Conditioning Coach of the
There you
Year
go.
in 2013. Well, that wasn't me. That was my staff. That was the smart, brilliant, intelligent people I had on staff. That was not me. That was that was a part of a greater process, and I think that's something I've been able to do is to hire those people around me and then empower them and allow them to develop and create a culture and an environment that is challenging, um, but uplifting as well. I would say that's been an advantage for me.
Thank you so very much. And in knowing what you feel is your greatest strength, what is one experience that you've had either with your staff or with an athlete where that interaction, after that interaction, you knew that you had an impact on them that was greater than that office space, that training facility, that you knew that in this particular moment, it transcends everything. I've touched someone's life.
Well, I was going for that every day. I was trying to create those moments and opportunities every day. Not that I would actually get the feedback every day, but it may take years or months to actually. But we were constantly trying to work beyond the quote unquote sets and reps of the job. I think uh, when an athlete would come back to the weight room and they had their family and they would have their children with them and just say thank you. The lessons that I learned here in this weight room, I apply with my family. I mean, those moments are probably the premier, top of the mountain for me. Just how you can impact someone's life. Even there was one point in time when an an athlete told us that, Coach, we appreciate the sport psychology and all the sport examples you give us, but I use this stuff in class. When they said they use the things we're trying to help them to be a better athlete, that it actually is helping them to be a better student and a better person, that the light bulb went off. It's like,
Aha
wow,
moment.
okay. That was one of those moments where we've been we're responsible for so much, and it's we have to handle these people in our care with a lot of responsibility, and a lot of, um, there's a huge responsibility when you're a coach.
Understood. Understood. So, speaking of responsibility, over the last year with COVID, and there has been a lot of social unrest with some of the incidents that have occurred across the country. Being that you are an African American coach, and you had an experience that um, may not have come out in your favor at the University of Missouri, but I'm going to say that it came out in your favor because at the end of the day, your integrity was tested and you passed that test. And as an African American coach myself, I'd like to thank you for that. Um, and it has placed you in position to be where you are now. Um, what are some of the unique challenges that you feel that you have may have faced either as an African American coach, or how has the experience of being an African American coach translated to you being able to assist some of the African American student athletes through this period that we've experienced over the last year and a half?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I think everything has to start with um, who you are and who you want to be. And for me, I've always wanted to be someone that was of high character, integrity, someone that treats other people the way I want to be treated. You know, the golden rule. Um, I always love the saying, athletes don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And for me, I just wanted to treat people the way I wanted to be treated, or the way I felt they deserve to be treated. And that doesn't mean taking it easy on anyone. I mean, there was a lot of tough love in my house growing up. There was a lot of rules to follow. There was a lot of discipline, accountability built in. And growing up in inner city Detroit, it was 85% African American. Growing up in that environment, I was fortunate enough to see a lot of people in a lot of positions and a lot of careers that from all different types of cultures. And there were plenty of black and brown people in higher up positions, from the mayor and several other positions, chief of police and things like that. So it was common to actually to have dreams and know that you could realize those dreams and have examples of people that did that. But so many people growing up didn't have that. So for me, I just always saw myself as someone that could be an example. Um, I was never really looking at the glass being half full, like what's not right. Like for me, I never looked at what's not right. It was my responsibility to make it right, and to be a part of something that was trying to make it right. And for me, I was always taught to be a leader in the house, from teachers from I can remember from early as fourth grade, teachers saying, "You're a leader, be a leader." That was instilled in me. And that was to not look. So I was just taught to not look at what I don't have, or what people may perceive to be a weakness or a shortfall or color of skin. Like I was just taught to work past that, think past that, be respectful beyond that. And for me, that's what I've tried to do. I've tried to respect people, no matter what they look like, no matter what their background is. And even in cases where I felt they weren't being fair to me, I was always taught to learn something about that situation so that I could grow, so that I could impact either them or the situation or the environment. And I've tried to do that with my coaching. So I know the example and what I represent. But my values, in my opinion, transcend what I look like. Um, and I want people to judge me for the content of my character rather than the color of my skin. And I want to do the same thing in return with other people. And I don't want, so anyone that's been around me knows that we're going to find solutions. That we're not going to, if there are problems, we're going to find solutions. We're going to be a part of the solution. I think it's important that even as I look back on my experiences in dealing with some of the issues of social justice and social responsibility, I'm constantly working on my character and how I can be a better asset, a better ally, better leader, better communicator, and help improve what's around me and make the impact I can make. I can't change the world, but I can change how people interact with me and the people around me. And I feel like I can be an influence in that. And I've tried to be an influence, and I tried to be a leader in that. And there have been fingers pointed, but that comes with that position that I want to be in. That comes with the territory, and I don't run from it. And as a matter of fact, I love it. And so whatever challenges there are out there, I know I'm going to work with the people around me, protect the people around me, and address the issues. So I don't know how directly I answered your question, but I just tried to give you a little bit about how I see things, and I try not to be judgmental
Understood.
with the people that I'm interacting with.
Thank you. So as we get ready to wrap up this interview, and I'd like to, again, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit down with us. What is next for Coach Dr. Pat Ivey?
What, I've had that question a few times. I almost feel like I need to catch my breath because I've been running a sprint here recently, and I need to just kind of take inventory of where I am and what's next. The one thing I know I'm going to keep doing is building relationships and seeing what sort of collaborations can happen through those relationships, both personally and professionally. I think where I am in my career, I've learned to successfully integrate those professional and personal relationships. I used to try to keep those things separate, but now I've realized that if people respect you and they want to do business with you, it's not just the business they want to do. They want to be associated with you. And I've learned that. I've learned that through my own business. I've learned that through Pat Ivey Performance, that I can't just approach people that I don't know and say, hey, I would like to collaborate, or can you support me? It's the people that I know and they know me that have supported me. So I need to continue to learn how to do that.
I'd like to thank you very much for supporting me in this podcast, because again, um, for lack of a better word, you don't know me, but you have built you have built a relationship to reach out to help me. So I'd like to say that um, you're a living example of what you're actually trying to do, because I believe that whatever you're trying to achieve in your life or whatever you need in your life, if you give it, you'll receive it. So if you're looking to build relationships with others that may not necessarily have a relationship with you, if you extend that to someone else, then someone else will extend that to you, because it's going to be exemplified in your character.
Yeah, I agree with that. I couldn't have said that better myself. You should type that up and put that out there somewhere. That was very well stated.
Thank you so very much. So with that being said, I want to wrap up our interview and say thank you so very much. But I do want to give you the last word. If there's anything that we have not talked about, anything that you'd like to touch on, please feel free to let us know.
You know, I think just something that I'm paying attention to is this whole name, image, and likeness thing and branding. And I think it's important that we continue to work on who we are and spend more time on that than our branding and imaging and what people perceive. I know that's important to do in this day and age, but who we are will eventually be shown. So we might as well work on what's going to matter most and what people are going to find out eventually anyway. So just continue to work on yourself, continue to be a better version of yourself every day. And, you know, take some time for yourself in the process of all this hard work that we're all doing.
Thank you. And where can our listeners and guests find you at online?
Yeah, I appreciate that. PatIvey.com, PATIVEY.com. And I've got all my social media on there, Facebook, podcasts. You can books, any shopping, t-shirts, things like that. Just feel free to go on there. And I think what I also have on there is a mental conditioning course. I've been getting a lot of good feedback on that from people signing up for that. And it's something that can help anyone be a better person and professional.
Thank you so very much.
Yeah.
So I'd like to say thank you very much for joining us today. And to our viewers, please make sure that you guys like, share, and subscribe to both our podcast and YouTube channel at Magis Athletic Training. Thank you and have a great afternoon.